This is my in-depth review on the Color Strip Mini by Chauvet lighting. I've been using this light for over 2 years and I have plenty of experience with it. This review will be covering the history, application, design, performance, DMX capabilities, competitive options, price, and just my overall experience with the light. Chauvet introduced the Color Strip Mini along with the full-size Color Strip a number of years ago, relatively early in the LED lighting revolution. Recently, Chauvet has come out with the Color Strip Mini FX, which includes a red and green starfield laser effect in the middle. Personally, I'm not too excited about that light. I think that the addition of the laser is kind of cheesy. It doesn't fit into any of my applications. Other people may find good use for it, but for me, it wouldn't work. This light has plenty of different applications that somebody can use for it. For example, it can be used as a wash light over a dance floor or a different architectural feature. However, one thing with this light is that it's not going to be as good of a wash fixture as one with integrated LEDs. For example, the color rail. This particular light has sections of different color LEDs. There's a red, green, and blue individual sections, which doesn't create the best color mixing. However, you can still use it as a wash. You can keep the light in the same position and use it as an effect light on your trussing as well. That's possible without necessarily having the application of a wash light. It could be an interesting effect light to look at as well. Here's an example of the light on top of a truss in master-slave mode. Of course, you can use these behind your scrims underneath tripods to light up the scrims. That's actually how I use these. Now I've got one of the color strips underneath the scrim as well. So we've got some uplighting with a Color Strip Mini, and we've got 2 of them doing effect lighting on top. You can really create an entire light show with this light. You can use them as a basic uplight, put against the wall. If these lights are directly in your line of sight, they can be quite bright and perhaps even blinding. So maybe a limited application of using them as crowd liners could be an interesting use for them. Overall, these lights are very versatile and can be used in plenty of different applications. It's really only limited by your own creativity. Moving on to design, these lights are very well constructed. Pretty much a full metal construction on these, which makes them very durable, and I expect them to last a long time. These lights offer a clear plastic panel on top to protect your LED diodes from being damaged. Another nice feature with the design is that they have very flat ends, and overall their entire profile is very flat, allowing them to be used with another fixture of the same kind, either right side by side without much of a gap, or especially on end to end. As you can see, the feet and the brackets don't really get in the way, so they can be placed end on end without any issue. Another nice feature these lights have is the different size of brackets that are included. These are the longer brackets, which allow the cables to fit underneath when it's standing up on the floor. Without much difficulty, the shorter brackets can be placed on. That would be something that you might want to use for your trussing or a different application. Of course, you probably want to use them in this sort of configuration then. However, one thing I would like to note about the brackets, even the large size brackets, still makes it difficult to stand up on its own when the bottom of your light has different cables in it. Even then, they still have a tendency to fall down, especially if you've got some stiff IEC cables. It tends to kind of lean. Even these larger brackets aren't quite enough. So you could either add some height below hand, but then that would really make the light off the floor, and you're already looking at 8 inches or so of space before the light actually starts. So what I actually have to do is tape down the brackets to the floor wherever I'm at, just to ensure that they won't fall down. One thing Chauvet could have done is put this entire panel of inputs and outputs on the side of the light rather than the bottom. That would allow the fixture to sit completely flat on this bottom plane, and it would be much lower to the ground for the lighting effect. In that case, you could even just get rid of the brackets altogether and have a very low to the ground lighting effect. When we look at the back panel, we can see there's a number of inputs and outputs. Starting at the far left, we have the power in and out. One thing that Chauvet did with this one is they required an adapter for your power out. Luckily they did include one short adapter to use. However, it would just be easier if they started off with a typical 3-pin on the bottom to begin with. Another thing with the power out is that this has to be placed in fully. That will not do it. You have to really make sure it clicks into the bottom, otherwise you'll have unreliable power out. Your power in is your standard IEC cable. It has a replaceable fuse, and really no complaints here. However, most IEC cables, again, I found aren't really accommodating for the size of the bracket. They're kind of pushed down like this when it's on the floor. Next we have our very standard 4-digit control panel with mode, enter, up and down. I'll go into this a little bit later with in our DMX section. However, I think that it could have been laid out a little bit easier. I think the system that they have for configuration is it could have been done better. Next we have our microphone and our mic sensitivity. They seem to work fine. I think this light does a good job of the sound active modes, and the mic sensitivity is good. This knob is very tactile and feels very high quality. It doesn't move too fast and really gives you some precision on where your sensitivity needs to be. Up next we've got some optional inputs and outputs for your external foot controller. I don't know how many people actually use these. I think they're kind of uncommon. It's a good thing that Chauvet included them anyway for the users that do use them. However, I have no use for them. Next we've got our DMX ins and outs. One thing that I really like about this feature is that they have a master-slave out, and that allows the light to be used in chases without DMX. If you do an output through this output, it will create a chase. That's an interesting feature. Otherwise you've got your standard DMX out as well. Finally we have our safety eye hook here. This is for permanent installations. You can use the included safety cable and have this attached to the ceiling as one added safety feature, so in case both brackets fail, the light won't fall on your guests' heads. However, I think this is pretty redundant. What are the chances that both of these brackets are going to fail if they're correctly installed into a ceiling of a building? I doubt it. Perhaps insurance companies like these for a little bit extra safety, but I think it's kind of redundant. In the box, Chauvet also includes this piece of metal without really any explanation to what it is. My best guess is that perhaps it's a solution to your brackets falling down with cables underneath it. You could perhaps screw that into one of your brackets and then make the wider footprints so that they don't fall down as easy. Perhaps there's a different use for it. I've got no idea, and they don't explain it. Alright, moving on to performance, this light has some great features built into it. When you're looking at the display and it says A000, you're in the different pre-programmed mode. A000 is obviously blackout. There's nothing coming out of the light fixture. A001 is all the red LEDs. 002 is all the green LEDs. 3 is blue, and so on. I don't need to go through every single program. I'm sure there are other videos that do that for you. One program to note though is A023. This is the sound active mode, and it'll go through, I think, every single pre-programmed chase in a row, and then it'll cycle back to the first chase. One thing that it does is it'll continue to go with fast motion like this if there's any sound. Until sound is introduced, it will do that, and then it'll wait about 3 or 4 seconds before it goes back into its auto run program. And then it's back into it. One thing that I would prefer is that it would wait a little bit longer. There's a lot of songs that have kind of some breaks that are longer than 3 or 4 seconds, so if there's kind of a dramatic pause in the song, the lights will already start going back into its automated thing before the beat hits again, and that kind of takes away a little bit of the dramatic effect. Alright, moving into the DMX control. For this I'm going to be using a Blizzard lighting snow control. It's only a 4-channel light, so I won't need all the channels here, but we'll be able to demonstrate what we need to do. As you can see in here, I don't think that the 4 channels really laid out all that great. I would have wished they would have had more options than just a simple 4-channel. Look at all the different things that they assigned to channel 1. I think this is kind of sloppy programming on their part. They could have made this much less complicated using more channel options. Perhaps they wanted to make it just a 4-channel thing so that somebody with one of those easy 4-channel controllers could operate it. But even then, it takes a while, and you really have to reference this in order to understand what you're doing. Alright, so starting with channel 1, it's going to be 0 through 9 are just blackout. And then once you get past that, 10 to 19 are going to be red. So we barely move this first fader here until we get to 10, and then it'll show red. Once we go further, we get 20, then it goes to green. 30 is blue. 40 through 49 is yellow, and then so on. Now, if your DMX channel is between 80 and 119, then you're into different color chase modes. Then you've got to go to channel 2, and that'll be your color change speed. Once you get up to between 0 to 127 is your automatic speed, how fast that will go. And 127 should be the fastest. That's moving pretty quick. Of course, you can also do the different sequential chases that are offered in the standalone modes. You can tweak how fast you want it to go and which chase to have as well using DMX. Of course, you can also do manual RGB color mixing once you're at a certain mode. Then you can also do a color fade mode as well. Now the price on these have dropped significantly in the past couple years. When I bought my first two, they were around 110. Now you can get them for about under $90, and I think that's a pretty good price point for what you're getting here. Of course, we can discuss plenty of competitive options. Of course, there's the Color Strip FX, which we've talked about before. That's going to be a little more expensive though. It's going to run you about $140. There's the Chauvet Color Band Pix Mini, which is kind of about the same size except for it's using more pixel mapping type thing. Uses 6 tri-LEDs. It's not really the same price range and not really the same application either. And that's going to be about $150. Of course, you can get battery type operated devices such as the Chauvet Freedom Strip Mini RGBA or the Freedom Strip Quad 5. Those can be $195 or $245 respectively. Again, not really in the same class. One interesting option might be the American DJ Megabar 50. That one's going to be similar size, mixed pixels together. It's not going to be like the chunks like this one has. And it's only going to be about $105. Another option from American DJ would be the Ultra Bar 6 for about $130 that you get tri-LED, much better DMX options, but it's again not quite the same effect. Really the only clone that I've been able to find of this light is actually from Eliminator Lighting, and it's their Eliminator Electro Strip. And that's going to be $105 about. And why would you pay more for a rip-off, really? So you might as well just go for the Color Strip Mini. I mean, I haven't seen the Electro Strip in person, but I can't imagine it would be vastly different from the Color Strip Mini. You're just paying more for an off-brand. Overall, this is a really good light for the money. It's about the cheapest in its class, I would say, as well. Chauvet has sold a ton of these over the years, and for good reason. They're still in production, which is a sign of their longevity on the market. These lights are very versatile, and you can get a lot of different things for your money. I don't think they're necessarily the best wash feature because they don't have the best color mixing, since their LED colors are kind of into those 4x4 blocks along the way. However, that offers a very good effect light, so if you're looking for something that can wash with light, but it's more useful as an effect light, I think this is what you're looking for. If you have any questions about this light, I would be happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.